Hey, you dorks, this is Gunnar Hansen, Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and you are listening to The Dorkening.
Hi, I'm Brian Johnson, and although you probably accidentally stumbled across it and have no idea why you're watching it, you are in fact watching The Dorkening.
Hello, this is Tom Kenny, voice actor, the voice of the Ice King on Adventure Time, and SpongeBob SquarePants. Ah, meow. Oh, Gary the Snail, too. Hey, guess what you're filling your eye holes and ear holes with? The Dorkening! Oh, I love the Dorkening. Very popular in Ooh. And Bikini Bottom.
Hi, I'm Lou Ferrigno. You're watching The Dorkening. And you know what? You don't like me when I get angry, so don't get me angry. You better keep watching The Dorkening.
Hey guys, this is Felissa Rose, and you're watching The Dorkening.
Hey guys, it's Courtney Palm. We're shooting Death House, and you're watching The Dorkening.
This is Anthony Michael Hall, and you're watching The Dorkening. Stay tuned. My friend's going to show you what entertainment's all about, baby.
The Dorkening.
The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Rise and shine, my sinners. When Father Evil starts his day, he gets a little deadly. Deadly Grounds coffee has the richest, smoothest flavor you'll find anywhere. It's sinfully delicious. Once you go deadly, you never go back. Order yours at getdeadly.com. Coffee's so good, it's scary.
Happy Monday, everybody. You're watching Creator Spotlight, powered by the Dorkening Podcast Network. Today is going to be an interesting show. And with that, my name's Leo. I'm the monkey behind the keyboard. And as always, Patsy, how's it going, my friend?
I am doing okay, but I think you are in front of the keyboard. That's what it looks like to me. It looks like you're in front of the keyboard. I would say your monitor's behind the. I don't know. Like you rearranged the studio, and it's weird now. So I don't know what's going on. I don't like change.
I'm sorry. And, in front of, behind is all from a different point of view. Or
on
all
top, beneath, whatever.
Yeah. What's the Star Wars is from a certain point of view?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, from a certain point of view.
We also have Mr. R.W. Martin. How's it going, my friend?
Hey, I'm doing all right. I don't like change either. It always falls out of my pockets, and I lose it like down the drain and stuff. It's ridiculous.
As for change, I switched up my camera, but also the office switched around a little bit. But I figured I'd get some use out of this camera. And I saw your eyes go a little crazy while the video was playing, because I was trying to move the cameras around.
I saw everything moving around at the bottom. I could see it just on the edge of the Deadly Grounds commercial, and I'm like, what's going on?
Just want to give everybody heads up. We're waiting for Scott Schwartz. If he doesn't show, then we'll do a reschedule. But hopefully he'll be joining us in a couple minutes. And I figured we kick things off since we had it set for this time and didn't want to lose the event. Because Facebook will do that for you. If you don't start on time, they'll say, "Oh, you don't need the event. You'll just cancel it."
It's always an event with us.
Yes, indeed. And hi, Elijah. Elijah just said hi, RW. I saw that. We'll have to get Elijah on the show sometime. He's filming a movie in Messina, New York called Jonah Corpse. And yours truly plays the lead of Jonah Corpse. And we actually start filming this coming Saturday. So we'll have to have him on to talk about that movie sometime and what that's all about. But yeah, I want to show Patsy something that he might find interesting while we're waiting, and that is the Jaws RCA Selectivision disc.
Very nice.
That I have had since the 80s, and I used to watch most of my movies on Selectivision. And if people aren't, familiar, that was the word I was looking for, with them, you slid this into this machine, and there's these two little notches right here, and it would pull the record, and that's literally what it is inside there. It's like an LP record, and it would pull the record into the machine, and then you'd pull the case back out, and it would play the movie. So I have Jaws, Jaws 2, Jaws 3, and Jaws the Revenge.
And you're saying that was before Laserdisc.
Yeah, so this was before Laserdisc, and then it was only around for a little while. And while I'm talking, I'm going to try to push these little tabs here that the machine would have pushed, so I can kind of show people what I'm talking about.
I was going to say, that sounds super easy, and I don't know why they ever got rid of that.
Well, because it was a needle that played it. So just like a normal record that you play, so let's say you're playing an Elvis record, Love Me Tender, and it goes, love me tender, 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 tender. These things could skip too. So it was a cool idea, but if they got scratched or dirty, then, the picture quality wasn't so good. But anyways, I have pushed the little tabs, and I'm going to put it this way, because if I do it the other way, the record will fall out of the sleeve. So normally you would put it in the machine like this and pull it out, but I'm going to do it this way so that you can see this record, which is just like an LP. I couldn't figure out where the camera was because I was behind it. And it has like a size of a 45 hole. That record would drop into the machine. And then when you were done, you push this back into the machine, and it would push this back into the thing and make it all nice and whatever. But
are you sure that's just not a fancy Laserdisc?
Laserdisc, and I don't have mine handy, were silver and worked on a laser, and this worked on a needle. And I remember right, it stands for, well, I can't ever say. I think it's capacitance. Yeah, capacitance electronic disc system, which you can probably barely see, but it says it right there. So yeah, it was quite the thing. So I just happened to have that handy.
Steps, so many extra steps. It's like, why don't you just take the record? Like, that's not how normal record players are. You wouldn't take the album cover and slide it into your record player and then slide the case out. Like, just take every other thing that I can possibly think of. You don't put the case in and then pull the case out. Like, the only thing you do is you just
like a CD, a cassette,
record, VHS, beta, record, cassette tape, Blu-ray, DVD, bagel, like nothing. You don't. It doesn't matter what it is.
I think if how when you change a halogen light bulb, you have to wear white gloves. Probably you would have needed to wear white gloves if you were going to do it the way you just said, because anything that got on there, the picture quality got it's like when you watch a movie on YouTube sometimes, and somebody's put this movie up on YouTube that no one else has, and you're trying to watch it like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. That's what would happen if this thing got scratched, dirty, dusty, fingerprints or whatever on it. It would be nasty. And the only way to clean a record would be if you started watching Superman and it was all like nasty, and you would actually hold the forward button down all the way to the end of the movie, and then hold the rewind button all the way back to the beginning of the movie, and the needle would somehow self-clean itself and get whatever was on the record off. Sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't, but yeah.
So this came out in 1981. You'd slip a disc along. So did you? Oh yeah. So you'd slip the disc in along with this cover into the front slot, flip the switch from load to play, and voila, the player spit out the cover or caddy and then started reading the 12-inch black vinyl disc with its diamond-tipped stylus. It detected changes in capacitance on the spinning disc's tiny grooves and then turned that into signal for image and sound. Capacitance measures how much change a substance can store, or charge how much a substance can store.
See, that sounds so dumb. It's like, imagine taking a VHS tape, putting it into your VCR, and the VCR sucked out the actual film part of it, spat back out the plastic case. Like, that's essentially what you're doing.
Right.
But I mean, like, you can, you're saying like any change or dust or dirt on this thing. Yeah, that was the same with a record, same with DVD, same with, think about all those Sony Walkmans that came out that, like, oh, they're anti-skip. Yeah, unless you move it slightly or there's a soft breeze, then the thing is all over the place. So you really haven't improved the technology by using lasers.
So this here was similar to, it was like this versus Laserdisc, so its own version of Betamax.
Yeah.
I mean,
no one talks about Betamax.
No, so it says its first 3 years, RCA only managed to sell about 550,000 consoles, and on April 4th, 1984, it pulled the plug. The system was never released in Europe. The company lost about $580 million on the project. Its losses crippled the company so much that General Electric later took it over in the U.S.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, look how, storing these things would be, it's just like storing an LP. Like, it took up so much space, But I the first player I had, if you're looking at pictures of players, mine had a little silver thing that you pulled down. And you probably can see that one there. You pulled a little thing down, which opened the slot to put this in. And then later on, they had a self-automated one or whatever, where you just started putting it in the little slot. And it would bring it in by itself. And I upgraded to that one. But then I got rid of that one to trade it for, I believe, a video camera or something. And I kept the original one, which I still have. And like I said, last I knew, it still worked. But me in my teens, probably 18, 19, 20. Yeah, that's exactly. I can see it on your computer. That's the one that I have and still have. And you see that little black thing on the top of the machine that you popped out. You pop that out, and that's where the needle went in on that little black part. But yeah, you slid that little cover down, that little on the right hand side. You pulled that lever down, slid this into the part where you can see the silver line going all the way across. And then you can see probably rewind, forward, and pause or something on there. But that's the one I still have. I still have that unit. And then I, had the automated one for a while. But yeah, it's heavy too. It's like you pick that thing up, it weighs like a cement block.
Is there a button on there? What were you gonna say, Leo?
I was gonna say, love the wood paneling.
Oh yeah, real wood. That's why it was so heavy.
No, that was plastic wood.
Yeah. Imagine, is there a button on there that when you press it, it forces you to go out and get like reliable, better technology?
Dude, this was the 80s, like I say, and I would watch Jaws on there. I would watch DC Cab on there. So this, I just brought a few. Eastbound and Down, Loaded Up and Trucking. We're going to do what they say can't be done. And, The Last Starfighter. But I have Superman, Superman 2, all 4 Jaws movies, all 3 Star Wars movies from then, Star Wars Empire, Jedi. I have a stack of them. I probably have 50 or 60 of them still. And I mean, to me, it's a memory. I can't sell them for squat. I just hang on to them just to remind me of, being 18, 19, watching movies. And that's what I watched them on until VHSs were $400. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because when VHS movies first came out, they were super expensive. You're looking like $35, $40 for a movie, which is why in like the late 80s, you started seeing all the ads at the beginning, like Pizza Hut and stuff like that.
Wait, how much for a movie?
For a
VHS,
no,
they were
was like
some of them were $100.
Yeah.
Well, that's why, because there's actually an awesome documentary on it. That was actually how rental stores came into play, because VHSs were so expensive.
Yeah.
Because it was $100 easy for
yeah,
movies.
and the reason why, that's why, like, you see all the ads at the beginning of some of them. Like if you start watching, you'll see like a Pizza Hut ad at the beginning and then like a Pepsi ad and stuff like that, because they were selling advertising space so that they could lower the price of the individual units.
The one company out there, though, for the most part, every company, like you say, $30, $40, $60, $100. Paramount, Beverly Hills Cop, $14.95. Like Paramount movies were the cheapest or the least expensive ones to buy. Join that whole thing. But yeah, there was a video store in Waterbury called Video King, and the guy who created it or opened it had like stores all around Vermont. As soon as Irene hit, his store in Waterbury got kind of wiped out, and then Redbox came along at that exact same time. So it was just like overnight, Blockbuster. There's only one left or whatever. But people would go there before streaming, and they'd have like 50 copies of Star Wars. So it's not like you couldn't get Star Wars because they had multiple copies. And yeah, you rent them for $3, $4, $6, which is better than buying it for $90 or whatever. But
and then the late fees.
Yeah.
They made their money back there.
Oh yeah. I think the documentary was the last Blockbuster.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
About right.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet, but
yeah, I think it went over. There was some guy that like was doing like wrestling videos, and that's how he started his business. Into the I can't remember. I need to rewatch it. Anyway, we don't have Scott yet.
No.
I apologize for everybody watching
with us.
What's that?
I said you're saying we don't have the Schwartz with us.
The Schwartz is not with us. But yeah, speaking, for a friend, I had this one friend who had like 2 VCRs, and he would rent a movie, and while he was watching it, he would make a copy of that movie and then bring the rental back. Yeah, I forgot his name because it has been a very long time.
Yeah, I'm sure he was the only one doing that as well. No one else would do anything like that. I actually have 2 VCRs right now. One's hooked up in here in the studio, and the other one's in the living room. Because I still watch my VHS tapes on occasion.
I'll tell you, so a lot of people don't. Some people have read my book, some people haven't. Some people know the story, some people haven't. But in the 80s, the early 80s, like I think it was 82. I dropped out of school due to bullying, so I didn't finish high school, didn't get my high school diploma. I went on to get my GED. But I joined that time that I wasn't in school, and I was going to GED classes or whatever. I would watch a lot of TV, and one of the shows that was on was The Love Boat every day, so I became a fan of that. But another show that was on was called The Alan Thicke Show, and I was watching it one time, and they had this comedian on, and they're like, "You're going to love this next comedian. He's a Canadian native. Let's hear it for Jim Carrey." So Jim Carrey comes out in 1982. No one knew who Jim Carrey was. I see him do his stand-up, and I'm like, oh, my God, this is the funniest person I've ever seen in my life. I go, he's going to be as big as Robin Williams someday. So 1994, I go to the, Video King to see what movie I can rent, and I see this movie called Ace Ventura starring Jim Carrey, and I go, oh, my gosh, it's that guy from 1982 that was on the Alan Thicke Show. This has got to be good because this guy was hilarious. And a lot of people don't realize that he made Once Bitten a little bit before that, and some other movie.
Girls Are Easy.
Yeah, and something Copper Mountain, which actually had Alan Thicke in it. But anyways, this was really his big thing that really put him somewhere. And
well, I mean, he had been on In Living Color for years prior to that with all the Wayans brothers.
Yeah. So I don't know if I had seen In Living Color before that or after. I'm not really sure. But anyways, I rent Ace Ventura, and he gets to the part where he goes, Captain's log, stardate 23.9, rounded off to the nearest decimal point. travel back in time to save the nation's film knowledge. And I literally had to rewind that thing like 17 times because I could not stop laughing. But once I stopped laughing and finished that movie, then I went to my friend who had 2 VCRs at the time, and I said, hey, can you make a copy of this for me? But anyways, I'm just trying to provide some laughter since unfortunately Scott must have had something that he had to do and maybe forgot about us or whatever. But we got to make this show entertaining for those who tuned in.
Totally, and we'll reschedule him, get him back on.
Yeah,
yeah. So, Patsy,
yes,
I was going to ask you what are your memories about? Since we're on the subject about home media, do you have anything? Like do you remember what was it first movie you rented or the first, Well,
I mean, because of VHS and home movies, I got introduced to horror at a very young age, and it was Michael Jackson's Thriller. There was a video store up the street from us where I've told similar stories on the show before, especially when we've had certain guests on. Where we would rent certain movies over and over and over and over and over again to the point where they were just like, here, you can have them. The Monster Squad being one of them. And The Making of Thriller is another one. And it's phenomenal. It's, how Michael Jackson even approached John Landis about directing it, how they got Rick Baker involved. Like, it showed all the behind the scenes stuff, how they made the zombies, how they put the makeup on, how they did the effects, they made it seem like his skin was bubbling up, taking a lot of the same techniques that were used on American Werewolf in London and, applying that to, because Michael Jackson didn't make music videos, he made short films.
Yeah.
He would have, high-end directors, Martin Scorsese, who directed the Bad video, obviously John Landis, all these high-end, directors and actors. He had Marlon Brando in one of his videos,
Joe Pesci.
Yeah, if you look at the video for Liberian Girl, it has everybody who was anybody in the 80s. Everybody, like from Spielberg to Weird Al to John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John, like everyone who was like popular in the 80s, like I think except Bill Murray, but like Aykroyd was there, like everyone was there, because everybody loved Michael and everybody wanted to be a part of, whatever he created. And, us watching this and seeing it, because I'm 3, 4, 5 years old when we start watching Thriller, and like that can be terrifying. There's zombies with blood dripping out of their mouths. There's really excellent creature effects because it's Rick Baker and it's the early 80s, so you're gonna have these insane prosthetics and applications and everything, and it kind of took the mystery and the fear away, because it's like, like they'll say, don't see how the sausage is made, but like we were seeing how the sausage was made, and so it like didn't really bother us. So like we could watch movies like, say, Jaws, when Quint's getting crushed at the end of the film, and you're watching it and it's like, oh yeah, like, how are they doing that? Like, oh yeah, he has a pad under him, and they're just like pumping fake blood out, or like he had stuff in his mouth and he's just spitting it out, or like he's doing this. And we were able to watch movies like that and have it not really bother us or scare us, and then, obviously Monster Squad has a lot of like, gore and a lot of scary images, especially for a young kid, because I came out in 87. I was 6 years old. So there's a lot of stuff that I was able to get introduced to at a young age, and stuff that I would seek out on my own because I was able to watch this stuff over and over and over again and get to see how it was made. So it didn't scare me anymore, because it's like, okay, I know this isn't real, and I know it's not real because here's this scene where they're choreographing the zombie dance, and like everybody's wearing like, crop tops and like spandex, and like, oh, here's the scene where Michael's transforming, and like, they're showing him make a plaster mold of his face, like how he did it. I'm like, that's the part that would scare me, like sitting there for 4 hours with plaster on my face, like, just couple of like straws in my nose so I can breathe. It's like, but it took the mystery away. Like I could still enjoy it. I can still enjoy it, and I appreciate practical effects more and more. As we, see more of a CGI heavy, film slate. But yeah, that was mine. I mean, remember, watching the first ever post-credit scene I can recall seeing, Masters of the Universe.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
No, I still don't think I've seen that movie.
Wow.
I don't think I've watched that movie all the way through. It wasn't something that was on in my house when I was a kid. I was watching Young Frankenstein and Blazing Saddles, Spaceballs, Robin Hood Men in Tights. I was watching a lot of Mel Brooks. I was watching a lot, I watched a lot of TV and stuff, whatever my dad was into, that's what we watched, so, RW, you'll get a kick out, Bonanza, Gomer Pyle, the Stooges, obviously. Like that's the stuff that we grew up watching, and then, some of the contemporary stuff, Alf, Family Ties.
I mean, first I got to say thanks for making me feel old, because you're like, yeah, I was 4 years old. And I'm like, yeah, I was like 28. But no, I don't know how old I was, but yeah, I'm old. But I want to take up a whole thing, but first thing that comes to mind is Rick Baker. My third favorite movie of all time is this one here. And what really, really, really makes me sad is at the end of the movie it says, something like King Kong designed by Carl Rambaldi, special contributions by Rick Baker. Dude, Rick Baker walked around in the H-suit the entire movie and was King Kong, and he gets special contributions. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Like, seriously. And when I recently got like 15 things signed from Rick and I wrote him a letter, I said, to this day, that like kills me. Special contributions? Really? You were King Kong. And everything he did with his eyes, all he could do was stuff with his eyes. So he made Kong human with just his eyes. When Kong needed to be sad, he could do it with just his eyes. And when Kong needed to be mean, he could do it with his eyes. And he gets special contributions. I'm like, seriously?
It was special. It was very special.
No, it was, but it's like,
you're
really?
talking about
That's
the sixth one where he climbs the Twin Towers?
Yeah.
Jeff Bridges and Jessica Lange?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's excellent. Corn Space is asking, no, I was born 1981. I am 40 years old. So I was not born in the 90s.
And then the other thing you touched on with the Michael Jackson stuff, I remember watching the Moonwalker video, which is like this, like it's got all these videos that connect to each other somehow. So he's like story of all this music, and you see Joe Pesci. And I think for the first time, for me anyways, I think that's the first time I ever saw Joe Pesci where he was like a wicked bad guy or whatever. But yeah, Michael got all these like top-notch people to be in there. And actually, John Lennon's son was in that video, the Moonraker video or whatever. His younger son, I forget which one. But yeah, I mean, I remember, like I say, seeing that same stuff. But yeah, you said, like those old shows, I already forgot what you said, but like Andy Griffith and I Love Lucy and stuff. Growing up, my dad and my mom grew up on this stuff, and those things were in reruns. So we sat down and we watched those things, which weren't really my shows, but they became my shows because they watched them. Just like your dad, these became important to you because you watched them with your family and stuff. Did you watch Caveman starring Ringo Starr?
I've never even heard of it.
I've heard of it though.
No,
I am unfamiliar.
Yeah, same here.
I saw the Simpsons episode with Ringo Starr. Actually, the Simpsons had all three of the surviving Beatles, other than Lennon, on their shows at different times.
Really?
Nice.
Yes, they had George Harrison on the episode Homer's Barbershop Quartet. They had Paul McCartney on when Lisa became a vegetarian. And he says, if you play Maybe I'm Amazed backwards, you'll get a recipe for a really ripping lentil soup. And like the end credits is Maybe I'm Amazed being played backwards. And they had Ringo on when Marge was painting. And she's like, oh, I once, painted something and sent it to Ringo Starr, but he never answered. And then you see like Ringo with like this just piles of fan mail everywhere. And he's like, yeah, I have to get back to all these people. They took the time to write me letters, so I'm getting back to them, even if it takes me another 30 years.
Yeah, I mean, growing up, I learned an appreciation for my parents' stuff, and then the stuff that was on when I was watching, like A-Team and Magnum PI, Simon and Simon, MacGyver, and all that stuff. But I can sit down and I can watch The Honeymooners, which is my favorite show of all time because it's just so timeless. And then I can watch All in the Family or whatever, and the Carol Burnett Show. And what's funny is some of the shows that I was watching as a kid when I was 10, 12 years old, 8 to 12, whatever, and my parents are laughing their heads off. It was adult humor that I didn't necessarily understand, but everybody in the room is laughing. So I'm like, I'm laughing too because everybody's laughing. I have no idea what I'm laughing about. Many years later, you go back and you watch that stuff and you go, ha, brilliant. And shows like All in the Family and Jeffersons and stuff, those writers knew how to write. So that stuff is still as funny now as it was then. And, now like, go ahead.
And you had good, like the right actors pulling those lines off as well.
Yeah. Go ahead, Leo.
Yeah, Corn Space. Whose line is it anyway? Best show back in the day. That's.
Are you talking about the original British show, which still had Ryan Stiles and Colin Mockery, or are you talking about the American version, that where you had Drew Carey and then they added Greg Proops and eventually Wayne Brady, who was popular for like a year and a half.
Either one still isn't that far away. When did it come out?
I mean, they were both excellent. I mean, Ryan Stiles and Colin Mockery made that show. Like, no matter, they were like the two mainstays. No matter what, they were on like every episode, and they were both so good. I mean, Ryan ended up on some show. Drew Carey. He ended up on the Drew Carey show with Drew Carey. But how he ever did anything after that?
UK one came out in '88.
Oh, that's way earlier than I thought, because I didn't start watching them until they were on like syndication in the mid '90s, early to mid '90s, and they were on Comedy Central.
Yeah.
The program originally began as a short-lived BBC radio program, and it was adapted for television.
It lends itself so much better for television. Like, it's so much better, and like. The weather report was excellent. I like when they would have one guy put his arms through the other guy's arms, and like they would do the scenes from a hat. Scenes from a hat were always great. Like one of the best ones ever, and it's one of the simplest jokes. It's like a phrase that'll start a fight, and Ryan Stiles gets up and goes, "Hey, you want to fight?" And it was just like so good.
Guess what?
Scott's here.
Scott!
Yeah!
Hello, Scott.
Hey, gang.
Scott, welcome.
I'm probably a little late.
It's okay.
That's okay.
Okay, but you're here.
My flight was delayed last night.
Oh.
And I was supposed to get in about 9:30, 10 o'clock. And I ended up getting in like almost 1 o'clock in the morning.
But you're here, and that's all that matters.
All right, where did you guys go? There we go. I don't want to just see myself. I want to see everybody else.
No, sometimes when someone talks, you'll make it them, and then it goes back or whatever.
Okay, good.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to say right now, welcome Scott Schwartz.
Hey, everybody.
Schwartz is with us.
I've been up and down all day, and then I've taken a nap, and all of a sudden I got up, and I'm like, holy shit! Oh my god! I'm sorry, guys.
No worries.
Leo's like, we're gonna go on, and he's gonna join.
Yeah. We've just been shooting the shit talking about like the first VHS movies or movies at home we watched, and before we get into your stuff, Scott, what's the first movie you remember watching at home?
The first one? Holy
well, not really the first one. Or do you have a memory like
oh no, I mean my movies as a kid, I loved musicals. So I watched Yankee Doodle Dandy, I watched the Jolson Story, Jolson Sings Again, and then the non-musicals, of course, I have Citizen Kane, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, absolutely. Oh God, because I got to think, because I had a Quasar, even before VHS was Quasar, which was like a 2-inch thick tape.
Wow.
And one thing I always remember I recorded off CBS was Elvis's last concert.
Oh, you Elvis fan?
Yeah. Oh,
TCB.
That's
yeah.
Yeah, I've been an Elvis fan since I was a kid. So
right there.
There you go. I don't want to like break it out. I mean, I can.
But what got us on the subject of like old school media was this thing I'm about to show you. And this is how long I've been a fan of a certain movie that you might have been in.
No idea what that is.
You've never seen one of these?
Of course. Come on. I have.
Oh my God, you got me. I'm like, wait, how did you not know what this is? Yeah.
What is mine?
So
where did I put mine? You should have told me that in advance. I would have found it, because mine is signed by Gleason and Pryor.
You lucky.
Wow. Nice.
So back in the 80s, I was like, I don't know, 16, 18, whatever. And I got my first, and this was one of the first ones I got, one of the first movies I got on video disc or whatever. And I would play it to death. Like I'd watch it at least once a week. And I think it's one of the funniest movies ever. But yeah, I also have a few others that, I have Last Starfighter.
Great movie. Robert Preston.
John, and DC Cab and Smoking the Bandit. But the rest of my
Cab.
What? Yeah, did you ever watch it?
Of course.
Yeah, it's one of the best movies ever. And some people have never heard of it. I'm like, DC Cab, and they're like, what's DC Cab?
It's Alec Baldwin, right?
No, it's
Adam.
Yeah. No relation
Adam
to
Baldwin,
the other.
Mr. T.
Max Gale.
Bill Mayer.
Yeah. Bill Mayer before he was Bill Mayer. Yeah. Marshall Warfield.
The brothers, but the two Barbarian
brothers. David and Paul.
Yes, I've never seen it.
Never heard of it. What is it?
Gary Busey. Oh my gosh, Gary Busey.
I
want to get one. Yeah, and he goes, I want to get one thing straight here. I'm walking too. I don't work on January the 8th because that's Elvis's birthday.
That's Elvis's birthday.
There you go. Yeah, again, one of my other all-time favorite movies. But
and then you had
about me.
And then you had the one and only Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah, I mean, I still have my player, and it actually still works. It's in storage. But yeah, Smokey and the Bandit with your main man Jackie Gleason. So speaking of, what was it like working with him?
There's no way that you could come from my loins. Gleason, listen, Gleason did not like working with kids and animals. That's what I was told. I wasn't a kid. I was, 13. I knew his work. I did imitations of him as good as he did them. And when I first met him, instead of Richard Donner, the director, introducing me to him, he's like, do that sheriff thing you did for me in The Office for Mr. Gleason. And that was the first thing I said is there's no way you could, come from my lunch. Well, he thought it was hysterical. And I did him. I don't have any idea who this is. Oh, Spam. That's nice.
It's not me.
He got a kick out of the fact that this little 4 6 inch, 52-pound kid could do him as good as him.
Yeah,
so we had a lot of fun.
Just before you joined, I was saying that my favorite TV show of all time is Don't Stop With Me, Alice. Like, The Honeymooners is it for me. Like, literally, everybody on that show. Please do a quick imitation, somebody said. That show, for me, everybody on there was legend. And in 97, I found Art Carney's house in Connecticut, and him and his wife, Jean, invited my then wife and I into their home, and we sat in Art Carney's dining room talking for like a half an hour. It was the nicest guy you'd ever want to meet.
So wait, so that person wanted an impersonation. All right.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. I saw that, you son bitch. You're gonna whittle your gwee. I got the evidence. Put the evidence in the car. But Daddy, I Junior put the evidence in the car. I gonna barbecue your ass in molasses. I love doing it. It was hysterical because when we were shooting it down in Louisiana, the local station, one of the local stations, had the Honeymooners on 5 nights a week from 11 to 11:30. And Gleason knew that I watched it. And, you know, a couple times he would come into the makeup room, which he always got his hair and makeup done in his own trailer, but he would come in the makeup room and he'd be like, okay, kid, what was on last night? And whatever episode it was, I would just go into it. You know, the musical one, dun 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 dun. All right, who's the composer? Ed Norton.
Yes. Oh my God, the $99,000 answer.
Yes.
And he's like, why must you always play da 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 before you play the song I want to guess? And he's like, I told you 100 times, bro. Pitcher's got to warm up before a game. I got to warm up before playing the piano. And then he's like, come on. And then he goes, da da. And Jackie Gleason's eyes are like, oh my God.
Who's the composer?
The humana Ed Norton. I'm sorry, that's not right. And then he goes, I'm sorry. There were 3 I'm sorry's, and he starts naming them all. He's like, you'll have to come back tomorrow. Come back tomorrow. That was written by. Oh my God, classic episode.
So Corn Space loves Abbott and Costello. Oh, chick, what's the matter now? That candle move. Candles can't move. This one did. No.
I used to know the whole who's on first thing, but yeah.
I
have a Christmas ornament that plays the whole thing.
Did that. Say again?
I said I have a Christmas ornament that I inherited from my my wife's dad. It's like this big, but like you hit a button and it plays like almost the whole thing.
Yeah, but I actually did with this kid named Paul in my senior year in high school. We did Who's on First.
Nice.
And I was doing Costello and he was doing Abbott.
Nice.
Which version did you do? Because I had always seen the I Don't Give a Damn version, but we watched it in one of my classes in high school, and it wasn't I Don't Give a Damn, it was I Don't Care. So did you have the censored
the TV version?
Yeah.
The TV version is the I Don't Care. The movie version is I Don't Give a Damn.
Yeah, because that's the only one
that's our shortstop.
Who's on first? What's on second? I don't know who's on third. Well, that's what I'm trying to find out.
You got a couple of days on the team.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Heavy hitter.
It's funny because that's one of those things you can't jump in anywhere. You have to start in the beginning.
Yes.
Otherwise, you screw yourself up. You know.
Yeah.
And I mean, we rehearsed it for I think like a month. We just kept rehearsing and we just kept doing it. And finally, by the time we got to the show, it was just kind of second nature. But it was not easy. But I mean, I had probably seen it God knows how many times. I don't even know, you know. And then there's 7 times 13 is 28.
Yes, I did. You know, I was working at I was doing that. I worked at a lab, and I would drive one of the guys nuts. He was like a biologist, and I was like, oh yeah, I can show you 7 times 13 is 28.
Absolutely.
And he's like, no, you can't. Hey, watch.
Absolutely.
I would do it. And he's like, he was getting so pissed off. He's like, that's not true. I'm like, I just showed you my favorite thing. I can prove to you that you're not here. Are you in Chicago, Philadelphia, or LA? No, then you have to be somewhere else. If you're somewhere else, you can't be here. That was my favorite one.
So obviously we've had, you know, a few unfortunate people pass away, Richard Donner and Ned Beatty recently, and obviously Jackie and Richard have gone on. I mean, I'm sure you get these questions all the time, so it's like, what can I ask that no one's already asked? But seriously, what was it like working with, I mean, such talent on the toy?
It was dynamite because it was my first movie. I was a kid, but I was very mature for my age. You know, I had done 100 commercials, 100 voiceovers, Broadway, off Broadway, whatever. So I always came prepared, you know. The only day I had a problem really on the set, was the first day, because nobody told me what ad-libbing was. Nobody told me about improvisation. And I did Broadway, off-Broadway, commercials. Everything is dialogue driven. Exactly what's on the paper is what you say. And it was me and Gleason in the back of the Rolls Royce going back to military school at the end of the film.
Yep.
And he threw me for a loop. Nobody told me what to do. So the whole day, here I am. I know the script back and forth. And I basically blew $100,000 of Columbia Pictures money the first day. And the second producer, Phil Feldman, brought me back to the office at the hotel and calls my dad and says, hey, what's with your kid? He doesn't know what to say. He doesn't know his dialogue. My father's like, you're crazy. And he's like, no, we just wasted a whole day of shooting. So he puts me on the phone with my dad. And I tell dad what happened. And my dad's like, all right, I'm sure there's something we can figure out, whatever. Okay, fine. But somebody had also told Richard, what had happened, because he wasn't on the set that day. And the guys are like, listen, if your kid does this again, we're going to send him home and we'll get somebody else. So basically he's telling me, if you screw this up again, you're going to get fired. Yeah. And that's pretty heavy for a 13-year-old, right? Richard ended up calling me up. I went over to his room. We chit-chatted. He explained to me the whole thing and what to do and how to do it. And that was the last problem I had. And within 2 weeks, I was ad-libbing with him.
Nice.
Yeah. I was going to ask, it seems like, as a young kid who's never, ad-libbed or improvised, you're getting thrown into a hell of a situation with Jackie Gleason and Richard Pryor. It's like, good luck keeping up with them.
Right. Two kings of improv.
The first day was the disaster. And by 2 weeks in, I was doing it with him. And then it was this. Then it was just clockwork. Then it was just go, Richard was my muse, my go-to. We played video games a couple of nights a week when he wasn't stooping somebody, whatever. And we had a lot of fun,
Just because I'm a dork, what games were you playing?
We had Mattel Television. Oh, so we were playing Frogger, Donkey Kong, Pac-Man, Ms. Pac-Man, Missile Command, Space Invaders, Burger Time.
I was going to ask Burger Time.
Oh God, I don't even remember all of them, but that was the gist of it.
Well, I just want to say that there's no piranha in there. It's South America, piranha. They can't live in.
Yeah, no, that was a lake, and they had to dig a hole in the lake, and they put a piping system that had holes in it, and they just blew air out of it, so it created the bubbles.
I love how they make him run really fast. He's like,
that was the trick. They put they built like a cement bottom, and they had holes in it, and then they put the board on top, and they laid it just below the surface. So when so they would just have him go to the end on a little boat, jet ski kind of thing, whatever, and they would put him there, and they go, okay, action, and he would just start running across the thing.
Yeah,
that's definitely sped up footage, because I would imagine that's something that you would be. While you want to make it as convincing as possible, you also want to be safe on that, because running across wet boards doesn't seem like something that you do on a daily basis.
They were just under the surface, so it was like he was running on the water, so it wasn't really as slippery as you would think, believe it or not.
Nice. And what was Alfred Hyde White like? Because he was probably he was probably pretty old by then, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, but he was he was a nice man, and his son Alex was also on the set. He's in the party scene. He's the photographer that Gleason goes, photographer, and he's going to take the picture of him and the Grand Wizard, whatever.
Yeah.
And Wilfred, just a nice old man. We had some good chit chats, and I came from a home of movie lovers, so it's like I knew who everybody was, and I knew their projects and all that kind of stuff. So it really made it easy for me to be able to talk to people.
Nice.
That's excellent.
Yeah, it is. I read that you maintained a friendship with Richard Pryor for a while.
Until the day he was gone.
Wow.
You know, I saw him a couple of months before he passed it. I mean, the MS was just really horrible.
Yeah.
You know, the last almost 2 years of his life, you can't talk, you can't move, you can't do anything. And, you know, the only thing that MS does is it doesn't affect the brain. So it's like he knows you're there and you're talking to him, but there's no way to respond other than, you know, just his eyelids, you know, just that was it.
A year or two, I'm not sure exactly, and I've got to find this. I know I have it somewhere. I haven't been able to find it. I've moved a bunch of times, and I have stuff in storage and like boxes. But before he died, his website said, "I ain't dead yet, motherfucker," and it was richardpryor.com, and I just thought that was funny. So at that time, Jennifer, his ex-wife, was now his wife again and was taking care of him. So I wrote to Richard, and I said, "Hey, Richard, I want to tell you a little story. My local video store had the Richard Pryor show on for rent, but I couldn't rent it. So I broke into the video store one night so that I could get this thing." And I go, "So while I'm there, I must have tripped some alarm because the cops show up." And I wrote this all out of it. So the cops show up. A few minutes later, the guy who owns the place shows up. And they're like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, I didn't have money to rent this Richard Pryor show. And so I was trying to break in so I could watch it. And they're like, "You're watching the motherfucking Richard Pryor show?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Holy fuck, we love Richard Pryor." And so me, the cops, and the owner all sat around and we watched the entire show together, and they didn't press any charges. And Jennifer wrote me back and said, "You made Richard smile." And that, to this very day, just, oh my God, I made Richard Pryor smile. And that was the short version because I don't remember exactly how I wrote it or whatever. But just the fact that I was able to bring a smile to a guy who made me laugh and smile so many, many times. Just, I wish I could find this. It's somewhere. I know I have it. But to me, that was pretty cool. She wrote back, "You made Richard smile." And I was like, that's awesome. So, yeah.
He was a special dude. I mean,
Yeah.
He was my muse, my go-to, my teacher, you know, questions, whatever. You know, the many phone calls over the years, the decades that we were friends. There was never, "Hey kid, I don't have time for you." That never happened. You know, he always would pick up the phone and he always made time for me. And then when I moved to California, he, you know, welcomed me in his home, and I had open door policy. 24/7, I was allowed in his house. Whatever I wanted, I could do. And, you know, even when it was like, you know, he was getting sick and whatever, you know, he actually told Jennifer, you know, "Hey, listen, I'm going to say this now in case I can't say it later. If Scotty comes over at 2:00 in the morning, somebody better open up the door. If he's got a chick and he wants to go take a hot spot, somebody better go open up the door for him." I mean, look, that's what he said, you know. But it's, you know, it's the strangest thing being two different people from two different forms of life, but yet you have common ground in comedy. There was a Western star back in the 50s named Lash LaRue, the master of the bullwhip. And Richard loved him. And my dad had about 25, 27 of his Westerns on VHS, and we made copies for Richard so Richard could have them. And it bonded us, and the rest is the rest, you know.
How do you do you still communicate with like Richard Jr. or Rain or any of the
Richard Jr. and Rain I talked to, yes.
Nice. Yeah, my dad, before he died, which was 2005, but he said we're somehow related to Charles Starrett, who was a big time movie star, the Durango Kid. Sorry. So I'm like still trying to figure out how I'm related to him or whatever. But yeah, that's, I mean, again, who didn't love Richard Pryor? You know.
You know, as funny as he was, you know, off screen, it wasn't about the humor. It was about the person and the personality and what he wanted to do. Now, there were two different Richards, really. There's the Richard before he burned himself up and the Richard after he burned. And that was the one I got. And the one I got wanted to be the teacher. He wanted to be the good person, you know. So I was the beneficiary of all that because there wasn't a question I couldn't ask him. Any topic, any subject, anything, you know, whether it was world history, whether it was comedy, movies, women, drugs, anything.
Right.
You know, and again, you know, this is a guy that opened up so many doors for me, you know, the things that people don't know. The places we went, the things we did. He called me up, a short story. He called me up one particular morning. It's like 10:45. He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm sitting in my apartment." "Oh, come on over." Okay. And he lived about 15 minutes from me. So I get in the car, I go over. I get there. He goes, "Okay, come on, let's go." "I just got here." No, come on. We got to go somewhere. So we jump in his white Rolls Royce and we drive down to Paramount Pictures. And he pulls up to the gate, and you know how it goes. Who are you here to see? Blah, blah, blah. The guy looks at me and goes, "Oh, Mr. Pryor." "You go right ahead, sir." No problem. So we pull up to the sound stage, and there's always a sign outside the door of whatever they're shooting, whatever. And this particular sound stage, it says "Coming to America."
Ah.
Now, Richard knew that I was a Star Wars fanatic and I love Darth Vader. So there's James Earl Jones. He knows I love Good Times. There's John Amos. He knows I love it. Here we go. There's that. And it's one thing if the grip or tech or lighting guy introduces you to somebody, whatever. It's another thing when Richard walks in and goes, "This is my little brother. We did the boy," and blah, blah, blah. And it's, James Earl Jones just looked at me and he goes, "Well, it's very nice to meet you." He's got that voice, and I'm like, "Oh my God, it's freaking Darth Vader. Holy shit." So, that was Richard, and another one, I was in Orlando during Shaquille O'Neal's rookie season, and I got a chance to meet him, and he's a fan, loves Richard Pryor. And I said, "Well, you want to talk to him?" So I called Richard. And I said, "Hey, I'm in Orlando, Florida. I'm with," I said, "You watch basketball?" He's like, "Yeah." I said, Shaquille O'Neal. "Oh, Shaq, absolutely. A monster. He's great. He's a kid." Okay. He's standing here, wants to talk to you. So I put Richard on the phone with Shaquille O'Neal. That's it. To this day, I'm still friends with Shaq because he's like, "Oh my God, that was incredible. That was great."
That's amazing. That is a pretty awesome story. Like that's pretty rad.
That was Richard, though. He just, I'm telling you, there was a certain thing that we just had. And when I'm young and doing the movie, I wasn't the giggly, stupid kid. I'm the one that's asking him about comedy and about this person, that person, and did you this, and how was Carson, and blah, 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 and he didn't care what the stories were. He didn't care what the questions were. He was open to having conversations with me every day. So it put a lot of information in my brain.
That's awesome. Yeah. Now I know, we could talk about the toy all night, but how was it working on Kidco? I just rewatched it again. I watched it back in the day when it was first on, and I just wanted to refresh my memory. But how was that filmed? How was filming that?
Kidco is my most proud movie.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm in 98% of the film.
Right.
And we were going to start shooting, and I had 8.5 weeks before the toy was going to open in the theaters. And I had to be available for press and promo and whatever. And we had a 10-week shooting schedule. So when we did the read through in the beginning, I asked to talk to the producers and the director, Frank Yablans, David Niven Jr., and Ron Maxwell, director, whatever. And they're like, "What's up?" And I go, "We got to shoot this thing. We got to shoot fast. This is what's going on." And they're like, "Get out." They literally threw me out of the room. My dad's sitting there, and they're like, "No, you stay. Scotty, you get out." So they threw me out, and they're like, "Listen, if we're going to have a problem with your kid because of shooting, tell us now. We'll replace him. No problem. And you guys go home, and he's available for whatever press and promo." And my dad's like, no, you don't understand. My kid just did 4 months with Pryor and Gleason. He's Godzilla. He's Secretariat. Just get on his back and ride him to the finish line. And you're like, "Oh my God, whatever." So they call me back in the room. Now I'm 14 years old. I've done one movie, and they sitting there, and Frank Yablans looks at me, and he goes, "Okay, kid, you want to get this done faster? What do you want to do first?" It's like 9:00 at night, the night before we start shooting. And it's like sitting at the World Series of Poker with the world champion, and you're calling a bluff, but it's not really a bluff. So he says, "What do you want to do first?" And I said, "Listen, I looked the shooting schedule over. Why are we shooting at the barn on this day and the barn on that day? No, shoot it out here. Why are we shooting at the courthouse here and the courthouse there? You shoot them together. And he's looking at me. He didn't expect an answer. and he just goes, okay, go ahead. So I sat there with the first AD almost till midnight, breaking down the shooting schedule to get it all down. And I mean, I brought it every day. I'm doing 12, 14, 16-hour days, day after day. And we're gaining, you know. The courtroom scene, you know, me parading back and forth and all that crap, whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
We had 2 days to shoot that scene. Long story short, we started at 9 o'clock. We were done at lunch.
Wow.
2 days and a half a day. And so we're sitting at lunch, and I'm looking at Ron Maxwell, director, and he's scratching his head, and he's scratching his head. So I sat down with him, and we're about 4.5 weeks in at this point. And I said, Ron, are you okay? And he's like, I'm trying to figure out, should we do this? I said, Ron, I said, let's maximize what we're doing. I said, we got to shoot B-roll up on top outside the courtroom with all the kids at the end.
Oh, yeah, with all the screaming kids.
I said, you shoot that. Let B-roll shoot that. We'll go on the other side, and we got to shoot the room next to the courthouse, or in the courtroom, you know, not in the courtroom, the waiting room where we're all sitting and talking and whatever with Orange Julia's food and all that crap. And he's looking at me and he goes, sounds great. Let's go. Okay, let's go. Let's go. So, I mean, for somebody who is that age, and we'll say inexperienced to some degree, I had experience, but not like them.
Right.
I kicked ass. And we ended up wrapping the film on December 10th, which was the day the toy opened in the theaters.
That's amazing.
13 days under budget, under schedule.
Nice.
You know, and the courtroom scene, actually, I was having a problem. I got about 80% of it, and then I hit like that speed bump. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't get there. So I went down to the guy who played my dad, Charlie Hallahan.
Yeah.
Who was in The Thing with Kurt Russell.
Yeah.
You know. For
Great
those
movie.
watching, he played the guy whose head comes off the table and then runs away.
Spider, yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta be fucking kidding me.
He's the one who helped me get over the hump with the dialogue. So it was like, okay, let's go. Move it along. Here we go. You know. So that's really the one I'm most proud of.
I mean, I love that whole movie, but my favorite scene is you in the courthouse where you go, does my dad buy stuff for you? And the guy goes,
Hay notes. Does he buy hay notes?
Yeah. And then, did he buy this? Yeah. What does this have to do with anything? Well, if my dad pays tax on it going in, why does he have to pay tax on it coming out? And I'm like, brilliant.
We're getting taxed at both ends.
Yeah. But that was such a great scene. Yeah. That's amazing. But yeah, I work on a lot of independent films, and you don't have a budget. So you got to like do stuff just like that. So you go, we only have this building for, 2 days. Why are we doing it here and there? Yeah. It just, who thinks like, let's come back here next week? No, you're there. Do everything.
Yes.
No film is film from start to finish. It's all disjointed and you put it together. So why would you film? Why would you go to one location and then go back to it? No, you do everything at that location and then you get out of there. You never go back. It makes sense. So yeah, I'm like, what? These people really don't know that? But and then the only other question I have is Christmas Story. How did you keep your tongue on the pole, or was that just acting, or was there like something?
It's a piece of plastic they had put over a real tube. They kind of painted it to look rusty and all that. They put a hole in it about the size of your pinky nail with a tube with a like a vacuum motor, like a Dirt Devil motor.
Oh, so it actually is holding your tongue.
So it's the that's all.
All right. But that scene, in my opinion, I've only ever watched that movie twice, and the second time was last night because I had to refresh myself on it. But you, in my opinion, the whole stuff that made me laugh was you. Like the whole guy, where you going or whatever. And
that's
brilliant.
The tongue.
That's all improv. The script says flick sticks tongue to pole. So, we get to the scene, whatever. And I said to Bob Clark, what do you want me to do? And he goes, do whatever comes natural. Now, he knew I could improv because I worked with Pryor and Gleason, and he had seen the toy, and he knew I could do anything. He's like, just go ahead. do whatever. If I don't like it, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Okay. And I just came up with all that stuff. And he's like, great, go ahead. And then I did it. And he's like, you know what? Give me a couple takes. Give me more. Just go overboard. Okay. And I gave him more. And he's like, no, you did it right. I like your way better. Just do it your way. Okay. So again, he's a director that he was more worried about the Ralphie character and Peter's performance. The last person on the totem pole he was worried about was me.
Right.
Which was great.
While making that movie, was there any thought like, this is going to become an American classic and all time, something that somebody's going to watch every year?
No, come on. It's a small movie that was a labor of love of Bob Clark and, who loved Gene Shepard. And, nobody wanted to make the film. It took them 10 years to get the movie made.
Really?
And then even when the only reason why it gets made is because of the success of Porky's, making so much money. They wanted him to do Porky's too. And he's like, no, I'm going to do my film first. And they argued about the budget. I mean, it was ridiculous. I mean, Bob was almost working for nothing because he gave them back his directing fee and producing fee.
Wow.
For a piece of the movie. He had so much faith in it. And then the movie gets made and then they don't even want to put it out. And Bob called Darren McGavin and said, hey, do you got some investors that would buy Christmas Story with me? And we'll put it out because MGM doesn't want to put it out. And then MGM finally said, okay, we'll put the freaking movie out. All right already. So they did no publicity, no advertising, no nothing. And, it made money going out the door, even starting in 400 theaters. Then it was 8, then it was 14. And then we got clobbered by the Christmas releases. But they had made money on it, and it sits there for the better part of, 12 years. And Ted Turner was buying the MGM library for TBS and TNT. And one of the last films he ended up getting was Christmas Story, and the rest is kind of history,
Now, is there any project that you didn't either get a chance to audition for or would be like, man, I wish I could have been part of this, whether it was a TV show or a movie, or something that you just like Star Trek The Next Generation, or, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Just any kind of thing.
I'm sort of a believer in the jobs that the people get is the jobs they're supposed to get.
Wow.
So you can't, I never would really say, okay. So if you would want to go under the, how do I want to put it? Under the, I wish I would have done it because there were other things involved. Okay. I'm in California. I'm at the Burbank Studios. I'm doing the voiceover work for the toy, the post-production.
Yep.
Walking around and a guy walks over. Who are you? I said, I'm Scott Schwartz. And then, well, what are you doing here? Oh, I'm an actor. I just finished this film. You have a really good look. Would you come to my office, please? Okay. We have no idea who this guy is until we get to his office. Get to the office. We sit there and talk. He says, here, can you read this dialogue? Gives me a couple of pages of dialogue. Okay. I read. You're fantastic. Oh, by the way, I'm Joe Dante. I'm directing one of the parts of The Twilight Zone, the movie. And here you go. So he gives me the script for his vignette, his part of Twilight Zone. And he's like, where are you staying? We were staying Universal Sheraton. Okay, fine. You can't leave, the whole 9 yards. And of course, that night was the night that the helicopter came down and killed Vic Morrow and the kids.
Yeah.
They stopped production. We called over to his office and they said, listen, there's an issue. They didn't tell us what happened yet. There's an issue. There's a problem. They've stopped shooting. Go back home to New Jersey. We'll call you when we're getting ready to whatever. And they didn't shoot for 6 months. And basically at that point, they just wanted to find a kid as fast as possible, get this thing shot and forget they ever did it, which was sad.
Yeah.
And Jeremy Licht, did Hogan Family and other things. He's the kid that they ended up putting in the role. You know what? That's what was meant to be. Would it have been cool to be in that film? Yes. But I really would have liked not for the accident to have happened.
Yeah.
And those people still be here. But I certainly don't begrudge Jeremy for doing the film because we have no idea. We were all kids. It's like the agent calls. Okay, fine. You go and you work. Actually, just saw his wife a couple of weeks ago. It's very funny, and he's on my Facebook. It's like, okay, fine. We're all friends. It's like, the jobs you get are the jobs you're supposed to get. The kind of the reversal of it. The two finalists for the toy were myself and Henry Thomas.
Oh, no way.
From E.T.
The kid who can cry. He's like, "You're taking my friend."
Snap your fingers.
Yeah.
So, and I said, he's a great actor. He's like, I say he's the Al Pacino of the kids. He was that dramatic guy. He could just do it.
Yeah.
And that's not what they wanted for the toy. They wanted a fun, upbeat kid who had to get emotional for 2% of the film and the rest go crazy.
Yeah. Which you did a good job at.
I didn't run into him for years and years and years. And finally, the two of us are in the same place. And I went over and I said hi to Henry. He says, "Listen, I'm going to tell you this just one time. I might tell you twice, but I'm going to tell you this one time." I said, "What?" He goes, "You broke my streak." He goes, "I had screen tested 4 straight films and booked 4 straight movies. The 5th one was the toy, and you broke my streak."
He ended up okay. He did all right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, we're friends. And again, there's no would you, could you, what role, it's, would you want to be in E.T.? And I'm like, not really, the kid is great, but everybody remembers E.T. Okay.
I liked him in The Quest. That's me.
Oh, there's a lot of movies he did that were great,
Nightmares and Dreamscapes too.
Yeah. I'm one of those people that, the movies, the things that I got were the things I was supposed to get, and would I trade them? Not a chance. Come on. There's no
seriously. I'm sure there's a million people in the world who are jealous, but dude, Richard Pryor and Jackie Gleason, like if you could work with anybody, like
Ned Beatty,
Richard Donner,
Ray Stark. Ray Stark is Funny Girl, Barbra Streisand, The Star is Born. He's a producer of these immaculate, iconic films, and of course
Richard Donner,
Superman, The Omen,
Goonies,
Twilight Zone, Goonies. Well, Goonies was after me, all the Lethal Weapons.
Those are movies that he's done that people are going to recognize,
Yeah.
So
I'll miss his smile and I'll miss him calling me Junior. That's when I would go see him. He'd say, "Hey, Junior, how you doing?" And I'd say, "Hey, Papa, hey, boss, whatever." And that's what I'll miss,
So Toy came out in 82, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So in 82, my sister had gotten married for the first time. I'm at her house and they're having mussels for supper, like boiled mussels or whatever. And so they're eating them and she's like, "Here, try these." And I'm like, "I'm not trying that." And she's like, you got to at least try it. I'm like, "I'm not trying it." So her husband, Mike, goes, "I'll tell you what, if you try it, whether you like it or not, and if you don't like it, you can spit it out. I'll take you to see the toy." And I'm like, "So all I have to do is put this in my mouth, and whether I like it or not, you'll take me to see the toy." And this is how I got to see this freaking movie, seriously. So I think must have been 17.
I gotta tell you, RW, I'd have found the $3 not to have to eat that shit. to go see it myself. Thanks, okay.
I think there was some butter sauce.
I'm with you.
Patsy, am I wrong?
Like some butter sauce or something.
100%.
Like, put it in the butter sauce. So I'm like, okay. So I go, all I have to do is try it. And they're like, yeah. And so I go, butter sauce, and I go,
here,
and then I start laughing. And I'm crying. I'm laughing so hard, right? Like tears are coming out of me. And they're like, "What is going on?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, you have to take me to see the toy." And so like literally we got in the car and that's how I got to see the toy. I had to eat a freaking mussel.
Yeah, have some rubber snot. It's delicious.
Exactly.
That'll make it. No, it doesn't make it better. No.
This is how bad I wanted to see this movie. But I just remember seeing the preview and it looked great. And then in the trailer, Richard gets hit in the head with one of those suction darts or whatever. And I'm like, "Oh my God, he gets hit in the head." And then at the end when he gets hit and he's like running towards the camera or whatever. But yeah, this movie holds a wicked special place for me. And I've watched it a million times. So
well, listen, you will probably have a lifespan of your podcast for years and years, but I guarantee you one thing: just one thing I will guarantee you. There is nobody else on your show who actually bought a black man beside me.
I want the black man. He wants the black man. No, I want the black man. He wants the black man. No, not today, not tomorrow. No.
Exactly.
Oh, a friend of mine wanted me to ask you this. I just thought of it. Behind you in that scene with the Wonder Wheel, there's a display of Mego action figures. And my friend wanted to know, did you get to steal any of those?
No. And then also in the background there, during that scene, there's a display of the Mattel and television.
Yeah.
Because they were promoting that. So that's why we all got Mattel and televisions back then. They
Wow.
put it on the set and then they gave all of us Intellivisions.
Oh, I love Intellivision.
Yeah. That's the one system I didn't have. I had ColecoVision, but never got the Intellivision.
I had friends that had ColecoVision, so I played with them, but I had, that.
Yeah.
And I had a Apple IIe.
Yeah.
And with the green screen.
Yeah.
Yep.
You
Did
know.
you play Leisure Suit Larry?
No, I used to play Miner 49er.
Oh, nice.
King's Quest and Jeopardy. Those were the two that I had for that one.
My friend had the PC. My friend had the PC Junior, and you could play the Star Trek game, which was all like coordinates driven. So you'd have to figure out where to shoot or where to move to or whatever. Yeah.
There was a pirate game I used to play called Taipei, I think it was, on the Apple II.
Capital of Taiwan.
It is. You had to you raided other ships, and it was you were dealing drugs. It was pretty.
Wow, yeah, it's a great game for a kid.
Great game.
Yeah.
The thing was, is like I was never into any like violence games. I was just never into that. I like Pole Position, Missile Command, Donkey Kong Jr., elevator action.
Oh yeah.
I always go in the elevator and get squashed every single time. I'm like, game over. Okay.
My friend Kenny and I, they had it at the our golf course. That was kind of between school and my house.
Yeah.
We would go there after school and sit in the clubhouse and play elevator action. All we kept saying is squash victim. Because the elevator would squash the guy,
If you ever get up towards this way, I'm in Vermont, Connecticut, and you're Massachusetts. Or are you Connecticut as well, Pat?
I'm Massachusetts.
Okay, so there's a place in New Hampshire in Laconia. I don't know if you've ever been there. It's called Fun Spot, largest arcade in the world. They have all the old retro games. You go there.
I was actually, I just got back, last night from Evansville, Indiana, the home of Don Madigan, the baseball player.
My kids live in Indianapolis.
Okay, and there's this place called Secret Treasures.
Yeah,
and he's got games, toys, dolls, action figures, vinyl, all this crap. But he's got a video game section, and it's retro. So it's like I walked down the steps, and the first game I saw was Track and Field.
Nice.
And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna like this place, And he had Donkey Kong, and he had Ms. Pac-Man. He got this one. So those were always my fun games. I was never a, the army shoot 'em up, kill 'em, bang. I never, Call of Duty crap. I don't play that stuff.
Yeah, Tron was my favorite, but I love Phoenix a lot. My oldest daughter graduated. My oldest daughter graduated Ball State a few years ago, and my youngest just started IU today, actually. When you go to Fun Spot in Laconia, you walk in and all the games are going, and all you hear is 80s. You hear waka 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 waka.
Oh, jeez.
And you're just like, oh yeah, I am home. And it's kind of dimly lit, so it's like the 80s feel. It's an amazing place. I think both of them have probably been there, but yeah.
But they filmed a bunch of the documentary, The King of Kong. A bunch of that was filmed.
Yeah.
Up there.
Yep, The King of Kong, where Billy Mitchell takes on Steve Wiebe.
Except
if you're ever this way, give us a heads up. We'll meet you there and we'll play some retro games because they have elevator action. The last I knew.
I love it. I was actually at oh God, what's the name of the show? It's in the Boston area.
Cheers.
Well, I met you at Northeast Comic Con a few years ago. I believe Leo has a picture of you and I from that con. Leo, take it away. Leo's like, I don't know where this picture is. I don't know what he's talking about.
At that show, one of the vendors had a tabletop game. that had like 30 games on it, and it had Donkey Kong Jr. and it had elevator action. So I actually bought it from him and had it ship it to me, and it's sitting on my kitchen table.
Very nice. Yeah, if you take a look over to the side, you'll see my Pac-Man console.
I see it. I do see it.
Oh, that's the one up.
Yeah, it's got Pac-Man, Centipede, Dig Dug, Galaga. A bunch of stuff.
There we are. I have this.
Oh my God, I remember those.
and this.
Oh, Frogger, yeah. Frogger and Time were my go-to on in television.
And
Donkey Kong, of course.
Yeah. But they still work. I just, they're like, you play them now and it's like, bing, bing, over. Oh, really?
I was watching ETA Prime today on YouTube, and he was going over a box. It has 50,000 games on it. Everything from
wow, I'll take that.
Everything from Intellivision up to Sega Saturn.
Like, how much is that?
It's 250 on Amazon.
Oh, send me a link to that. I might just have to make my girlfriend mad at me.
I got a buddy who does that. He puts together. He's like big. He does like synth music and stuff, and he does. He's big into like retro stuff, and he built an arcade cabinet. And put all the games into it. There's thousands and thousands. So he'll stand at his arcade cabinet and like just flip between different games. From like Leo was saying, from late 70s, early 80s to now. Like he's got stuff pre-programmed in, and he just plays it on his arcade cabinet, which he built. He redesigned like his living room so he could like put it like into a recessed area and like.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
So Scott, do you remember this?
Of course.
Remember when Tommy came out with all these like simple games, digital derby, hit and missile, and all those things?
No, the football one, the basketball one, the baseball one, the little dots.
Yep.
There you go. That's it. I had them all. Oh, Christ.
Yeah. Basketball one.
I mean, as much as I love video games, I was a pinball guy.
Oh, were you?
Pinball.
When I go to that fun spot, the first thing I do, I get there before anybody else, and I just walk down the pinball thing, hitting the buttons because people don't realize they get free games. And I play pinball for like an hour and a half because there's all these free games on all the pinball machines.
Well, I know we are running a little bit on time, and you had a late night, Scott. Did you guys have any other questions for Scott before we wrap?
This has been a super fun conversation. Like, I know we didn't discuss much about like, your career and whatnot, but, hearing these stories and, hearing some of the other stuff that you've done, and your friendship with Richard Pryor, like that, that's a great story to me. Like that's the type of stuff I love hearing about, because it's not something that I can find out by, looking at your Wikipedia or your IMDb page. Like this is like real.
Well, next time I'll come on the show and we can talk more about Pryor and Gleason and my WWF days with Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage and
anything you want to talk.
Piper and all those guys.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to say is we got to have you back because this was fun.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun.
Totally. So you have a couple movies that you're working on right now. Anything that you'd like to mention?
No. I mean, I've done a bunch of little independents, and they'll come out, and I did 1 or 2 days on a bunch of stuff. But nothing of any major capacity. I've got a book that's sitting at the publishing house, and because of COVID, everything is back. Yeah. I was hoping it would be out this year. I was hoping it would be out last year, and now it's probably going to end up being out next year. It's like, Jesus, come on, guys.
Yeah. But now's the good time to get it out because everybody's home and they have free time to read.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be at the there's a show in Orlando I'll be at in 2 weeks at the I guess they call it the East Convention Center by Ybor City. And then I'll be at the Chiller Theater show. I may not be signing there, but I'll be there, which is in Parsippany, New Jersey.
Yep.
At the end of October. I'm going to be in Buffalo over Thanksgiving, doing a big Christmas Story reunion thing. Oh Christ, I don't even know. Let's just hope I wake up. It's like whatever.
We go to there's a my mind has gone blank.
Super Mega Fest?
No, up in Buffalo there's an independent movie festival we go to up there.
Buffalo into Buff?
No, Fantastic Dreams.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And Chiller.
Boston Underground Film Festival, not Buffalo.
Super Mega Fest in Framingham.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I haven't done that show in years. Tell the promoter I'd like to come again.
You know what? I'm going to do that because this is my favorite con, and they're always there too.
Yep.
But I'm usually a featured cosplayer. Sometimes I'm the dude. Sometimes I'm Shaggy. Sometimes I'm Sheriff Roscoe, you dipstick, stuffing my vehicle. Sometimes I'm Shaggy. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, I'm going to be at Hazard Fest in Tennessee, first week in October. So you can just go to hazardfest.com.
Yeah, that's cool. But yeah, I'll tell because they just barely started saying who the guests at Super Mega Fest are going to be. Do you have that date? Do you remember what that date is at all, Leo?
I think
I'll see if it works for you before I say, hey, get Scott.
Let's see. Hold on.
I think it's like the third week in November.
Yeah. So
November 19th.
So 19, 20, 21?
I think I'm good because that's the weekend before I'm supposed to be in Rome, New York.
Okay.
For the Christmas Story reunion thing. Let's see. Tony Danza, Carmen Electra. Oh my God.
No, that's all old. They haven't pulled it down. Those are the last guests like from before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they haven't updated their
sucks.
website. But if you go to their Facebook page, you can. If you go to the Super Mega Fest Facebook page, it shows that they got the girl from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and they got
Tatiana
what?
Tatiana
Carson.
Ali?
What's her name? Is it Parsons? Is that her name?
That's not who I'm thinking of.
No, but so they've only announced like 3 people. But if I know we're friends on Facebook, if you want to send me the info that you would want them to contact you, I'll pass it on to them and say, you got to get Scott. But yeah.
The Last Dragon.
Yes, there you go. Time Out. Time Out and Gelato at Tanagra.
Good guy. He's the only one I see, but I'm sure they got other people already booked. They just haven't.
They have like 2 floors worth of celebrities.
Yeah.
I mean,
Good show. The last show before COVID, they had John Snyder, Catherine Bach, and Tom Wopat there. They had Tony Dow and Jerry Mathers. They had
the Warriors.
Oh yeah, they had the
Michael
Warriors.
Beck and Deborah Van Valkenburg.
And they had the guy, one of the people from Willy Wonka, and they had Tony Moran, who was one of the Michael Myers.
Mm-hmm.
My brain is much. I'm trying to remember.
Was there Eddie Furlong?
Yeah. And in the past, they've had Eric Estrada and Larry.
They've had everybody. We can do that all day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, I'll send it over to you.
Okay. Yeah, I'll say, hey, Scott's willing to do your show in November. Here's his contact information. Get him there or whatever. Perfect.
Yeah, do you have John's information there, RW?
I don't have it. If you have it, send it to him then. Yeah. Put it in the thing. If you have it, then even better.
Send me the contact info and I'll email the I know the owner, so I'll
actually. So we'll get you there.
Be nice to see you.
Yeah, then we can see you in person and whatever.
Sounds good. Hey, Scott, where do you like fans interacting with you on social media?
My Facebook is Scott Schwartz Actor.
Okay.
That's the one that I do. I mean, I think I have an Instagram, but I almost never use it, and I don't TikTok, and I don't tweet and all. Just no. Okay. I'm just too damn old for that crap. And I'm like,
it's confusing,
It's all generation.
I don't know. People are making a fortune doing this crap, and I'm just like, you know what? It's not about the money. It's just not something I do.
Yeah. What about the link to your OnlyFans? Do you have the link to your OnlyFans?
Come again?
So do you have a link to your OnlyFans account?
I don't have an OnlyFans. What are you, sick?
Well, it's not all,
this isn't like, Kardashian Hour. What the fuck are you talking about, man?
I don't even think Patsy knows what he's talking about.
No, there's a guy on there that just does lawn care tips. I don't know.
No, that's good for him.
Yeah.
Well, I got
the
no
Lone
problem with
Ranger.
cameos. I mean, I do Cameo,
Oh, there you go.
I'm
I do
on
Cameo.
And it's like, it took me literally, I swear to God, like 2 hours to do the first Cameo. I don't know what the hell I was doing. And then finally I kind of figured it out. And now it's a little bit easier. I was like, okay, fine. But that's about it.
No, like I always say, it's all generational. Take a teenager, put him in front of a typewriter. Take a teenager, put him in front of a rotary phone.
Yeah. I get stuck on a video game. I give it to Tracy's son who's 14. I go, I can't get by this level. Let me explain how the game is played. And he goes, here, you're by the level. I'm like, how'd you do that? He's like, I just did. I'm like, thanks.
Yeah. It all depends on where you came in on stuff. Like, tell somebody you have to call them without looking at your phone. You have to remember the phone number.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hold on, I gotta find my pager. Hold on a second.
Yeah. So that's what I always tell folks. It's all go to the library, use the Dewey Decimal System to find a book.
Thank you.
Yeah.
See, but that was when it was good. When you actually had to work to find out information. When it wasn't at your fingertips. You appreciated it much, much more. Because now they're all spoiled and they sit with their phones and they Google every damn thing they ever want to know. And there's no thought process in that.
And most of the time it's not true. So they go, yeah, did you know that this thing happened this time? And I'm like, where'd you find that? I found it online. Well, how do you know it's true? Well, it was online.
Yeah.
You know that Abe Vigoda and Abe Lincoln are the same guy?
Yeah. Oh, my God.
Well, on that note, RW, where do you like people interacting with you?
I'm on Facebook. I'm on officialrwmartin.com down here somewhere or whatever. You can find me most anywhere by typing in VT Actor 007. And that's about it, really.
Okay. Patsy.
You can find me here pretty much every Monday. You can find me Throwdown Thursday podcast Facebook group. You can find me throwdownthursdaypodcast.com. That's where all of our social media links and everything. And you can find me this coming Sunday live on YouTube for the first annual Amalgamania Podcast and Entertainment Awards. There's some amazing stuff. I was actually getting some updates during the show, so I know who's taking home all the trophies. So if you want to know, you're going to have to tune in on Sunday, and hopefully everybody can make it because it's going to be pretty awesome.
Awesome. Can't wait to hear. I know some shows on the network here have been nominated. Speaking of that, I run a little thing called the Dorkening Podcast Network. Just about 40 shows, a lot of awesome people doing a lot of awesome stuff. And for me, just Google Leo Pine. You'll find some stuff. Some of it's true, some of it's not. But more importantly, follow these awesome people and, go watch The Toy. It's a classic. And we'll catch you guys later.
Bye. Scott, thanks for being here.
You got it, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you. And